Hello YouTubers, Charles here. Haven't really made a regular video in a while, and I'm actually probably not going to start back up, but I wanted to take a look at EXAPUNKS. This is a new game by Zachtronics. Let me click past this music here. I haven't made a video in a long while, like I said, and I'm not really looking to get back into it, although I do want to take... I want to make more videos. I have recently updated my Minecraft schematic or structure to command block, and I want to do some videos on occasions, maybe one or two a month. And so this is one of my first ones, sort of back into it. This is a Zachtronics game. I'm sure you've seen some of my other videos on Zachtronics games. I really enjoy them. They're puzzle games, but not like a Tetris type puzzle game or columns or something like that. These are games that have many solutions, but you have to build them. This game included, it's basically a programming game, but not all of his games I would classify as programming games, but they all have some, or most of them I should say, should have some element of programming to them. Back in the day I played Space Chem. I really loved Infinifactory. I played Opus Magnum, that was recent. I played Shenzhen IO. I have TIS 100, but I never actually played it. I was actually too deeply involved in Infinifactory and probably Minecraft at the time to get into TIS 100. But before I get into this, I will say that I have reset my save, so I'm at the beginning, although I'll go through the first few tutorial stages, and then maybe one other, and then I'll show some of my solutions for some of the early puzzles, but I don't want to give any spoilers for anything past, the first part of the game, because, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Some of the early puzzles were a bit on the simple side, but it gets complex at the end, and it takes a while so you should really play it yourself and figure stuff out. Before I get totally into this, I do want to mention there's one other game that I played last year in my basically break of doing videos, and that was a Hat in Time, and I really enjoy that as well. It's a 3D platformer collectathon, kind of like Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, or Psychonauts or Banjo-Kazooie, or games of that era. And next week a DLC is coming out for it, and if you own the game and you get the DLC on the first day that it's out, which I believe will be September 13th, the DLC is free. So if you like platformer games, Mario Odyssey, anything like that, 3D platformers, check it out. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's get into not Shenzhen. This is EXAPUNKS. This is a retro-futuristic late 90s, I believe it's supposed to be 97, where maybe computer hardware isn't as advanced as it was back then, but software is more advanced, and programs have been simplified into what has become known as execution agents, EXAs, hence EXAPUNK. And they're little programs that hop between machines, and they can execute stuff, and they can read and write files, and do things. So apparently you used to write X's and do different things, but you have caught the phage. They're not really sure what the phage is, except that it's some sort of virus thing that slowly turns your nerves into computer parts. There's some speculation that it was some sort of experiment between mind and machine communication, But that's about it. They don't know what it really is, and there's no cure, but there is something that will slow down the progress of the disease. Unfortunately, it's very expensive, and you can't afford it. So, you click here on your Sawayama Turbo Lance Z7, and you have a meeting with Nevis. Someone's at the door. Can't remember. Did I ask them to come up? Things have been hazy. Every day, more of my body is turned into junk.
Hey, can you hear me? I heard you were looking for some medicine for the phage.
Looks like you definitely need it.
That's right, Nevis. They said they couldn't find anything. Even bootleg medicine.
So, I do have a source. I know where to get it. It's cheaper than the real deal, but it's still gonna be pricey.
Nevis pauses and looks me in the eye.
The going rate is 700 a dose. You need to take one dose every day. Yeah, that's dollars. Sorry, I don't set the prices. I'm just a courier. It's not like any of that money goes to me. Anyway, if you do get the money, give me a call.
So, there's kind of like these cutscenes. There's a 5, 6, actually probably more than that, maybe 8 throughout the game. There's also this IRC. There's interesting conversations. They actually give a few hints in here, but it's you can't actually type in it, and you know. So what are we gonna do for money? Let's try Workhouse. This is something akin to Mechanical Turk, which is something Amazon actually set up back in the day, where you do little tasks for little amount of money. Okay, here we are in Workhouse. Actually, sorry, I had a small issue with the recording. I had a cut here, but not, you know, didn't caught it, didn't miss anything. So we have to transcribe the items in these receipts. You'll be shown receipts generated, of course, normal everyday business, and we'll enter them digitally for bookkeeping and reimbursement purposes. It's like we got VC Champagne, CHAMPAGNE, and that's 140, and a DP Cabernet, CABERNET, and that's 9D. And another ET, and that is also 9D. Oyster, YSTR platter, I'm assuming that is. It's 35. New York strip for 70. Truffles. So if I could type for 20. Filet mignon. MIGNON. 80. Chocolate tort for 12. Special order for 200. 200, not 2,000. Hope the screen didn't flash too badly back there. The issue I ran into earlier, and hopefully I didn't trigger again, is certain keys on my keyboards take certain actions in my recording software, and yeah, the number pad happens to be some of those. So, yeah. I think I'm good here, though. I'll hit submit. I'm verifying your work. And I've earned a total of 10 cents. That's not going to go far against the 700 I need.
Wow, a whole 10 cents.
That's what I just said. Who are you?
Congratulations. You only need to do 6,999 more of these, and you'll have enough for today.
Who are you?
Don't
Who's
worry about
this?
that right now. You need that medication to stay alive, right? Well, guess what? I can get it to you. You'll need to start hacking again, though.
I don't recall if I recall.
One dose. Easy. Deal?
Forgot
You're
how.
about to remember. Not now.
You can see the RC here is updating a bit, and we have a meeting with Gast. Someone's at the door again. An old friend, Gast. I knew his real name once, but that's gone now.
Hey, came by to give you something.
Gast hands me a small booklet. It's made of real paper. Apparently something called Trash World News.
Can't hack like I used to. Whatever edge I had, it's gone now. But I had to keep doing something. Something to keep the culture alive, you know? Computers are running everything these days. Before long, human beings aren't even gonna have a say. So now I equip people with knowledge. The knowledge to make a computer do what you want on your terms. Anyway, I won't keep you. I know you like to be alone. Hope you like what you see in the zine.
I hope so too. So, yeah, the game comes with 2 zines, magazines, kind of based off of actual, or the flavor of things like 2600 and other hacker magazines. You can actually print them, and there was an early version of the game, or special order, where you could get physical printed out, professionally printed out versions. I think that's not available anymore, but you can, there's PDFs for letter size, for A4 size. You can print them out, fold them, staple them, or there's digital versions. There's, like I said, 2, one you get now, one you'll get a little later in the game, and there's some extra stuff at the end of the game. I'm going to pull up the digital version now, so that'll hopefully just take a second. Okay, so here's the magazine, and it's got lots of interesting information in it. Some of it is background to the game. Some of it explains what X's are. This is more like background. And here's kind of stuff that covers the tutorials. And then they have a full description of the programming language. This is some more background information about the phage. And they have these are basically hints for hints or help for different of the puzzles in the game. And they have more kind of background world building in some of these parts. So yeah, it's quite interesting. And yeah, further on in the game you get a second one with more hints for puzzles later in the game. So let's take a look at some of the early puzzles here. So this is basically the walkthrough. Would you look at that? Zine's got a hacking tutorial in it. How about that? Funny coincidence, huh? Isn't it? I guess. Oh, come on. I timed that just right, didn't I? Let's continue. So this is the main game, and this is basically the computer network. This represents your computer, and you'll have we dialed into this computer, and it has a file on it that we need to move to this computer. This is your execution agent, and you'll be writing its code here. Your aren't, like, this looks limited, but as you type code, this will grow. And in general, except for one puzzle, which I then realized I was doing something I probably shouldn't have been doing, you're not really limited by size. You have basically 50 lines of code size in the early puzzles, and that gets bigger. It gets up to 200 at the later puzzles, and like I said, except for one puzzle, I never really ran into that as being an issue. But basically, you're graded on cycles, which is how long it took for your execution agent, your exit to finish. Let me lower the music a little bit. It's very good thinking music. You're also graded on your size, which is how many lines of code you had to write to do this. And then you're graded on your activity, which is how many times your EXA crosses a link between computers or issues a kill instruction. A kill instruction will terminate another EXA forcefully rather than letting it naturally come to its end. So for this one, we have to take this file and move it here, and that's really simple. First, we want to across link 800. That's what it's called on our side. On this side, it would be -1 to go back, and it usually is -1 to go back. I should explain. Here's your code. Your EXA has one normal variable or register, as it would be called. This is a test register, and if you played Shenzhen IO, this should be familiar to you. There are test instructions that will return a true or false, and it does that by setting this to 0 or 1. If you're not doing test instructions, you can also put data in the T register and use it just like the X register, but as soon as you do a test instruction, whatever was there will get overwritten. F is your file register, so if you pick up a file, the file's ID will appear here, and then reading or writing to the F register reads or writes to the file. Here's the file. When you actually pick it up, the current item becomes highlighted. Reading or writing will do that action and then move the file pointer, and then there's a seek command to move it either back or forward to the end, to the beginning, whatever you want. And also, X's can communicate with other X's using the M or message register. And you can set that to global, which will broadcast it throughout the whole network, or you can set it to local, and there's also an instruction to toggle this as well. Local means they'll just talk to X's in the same host. So for here, we want to link 800, which will move us here. We want to grab 200. All the instruction names are 4 letters. Then we want to link 800 again. And that will work. You can do, well, we would want to be nice, is say drop the file, and then we could say halt, which terminates the EXA. But you don't need drop, because when you halt, you automatically drop whatever files you have. And we also don't need halt, because when you run out of instructions, you automatically terminate. So this is the minimum you need. It's not what the game or the walkthrough would tell you. The walkthrough would tell you you put to drop and halt just to teach you those. But we'll step through here. Grab. We're out of instructions. We disappear. And look, we finished. And we had an activity of 2 and took 4 cycles. Because destroying takes a cycle. So it was those 3 plus actually disappearing. And now it runs through 100 test runs. Now, for this first one, they're all the same. Other puzzles will have different input or other things that you must deal with. So this is step. This is go normal speed, or we have like go super fast. And you can see we've done it. I'm offline now because I had to get rid of my save, and when I did, and was online, it re-downloaded it again. But if you were online, you'd be, you'll get these graphs. If you're online in Steam, you would also get compared directly to your friends in your friend list. You can also see the test run data, but like I said, all these are the same. You basically get graded on the ones you took the longest with. So if certain ones have longer files, you would see like, oh, this one you took 10 instead of whatever, and then you can actually go and try to optimize that particular one. I'm just gonna go back. I can see everything, everything on your computer. There's not much to see. There isn't. Expects you to be sitting on all kinds of secrets. It's alright though. We'll find plenty more. So we'll get to the next one as they're talking over here. People or animals are often motivated by... I'm gonna skip most of this. I mean, when you actually play, it is an interesting story. So we're gonna take the first two values out of the file, add them, and multiply by the third, and then subtract the fourth, and put that on the end of the file and move it to outbox. So we're gonna similarly link to 800, and we could copy F to X, and this will read from the file and write it to X, and then we could add F to X and store the result in X, but that's too long. We can just say add F and store it in X. And then we will want to mul and mult, M-U-L, mully. I believe is for integer, but you can't do floating point. Kind of was expecting them to add floating point in the second magazine, but never did occur. So we want to multiply X by F and store it in X, and then we want to sub I F from X, and we want to store that in F, and then we want to link 800, and that's this done. Obviously, what they suggested would be more steps. They had the copy this, put it in X, and then copied to F, and then it had a halt and a drop and halt in there. Ooh, I did something wrong. What do we? It helps if you grab the file. There we go. So that took the first two and added them, and now we're gonna, you can see the pointer is now on the 4, so that we're gonna multiply that by 4, and now we're gonna subtract 60 and write the result, link to 800. And one thing I have not shown is they have this show goal button, which, for one, you can see the file is over here and your X is gone, but over here it shows the expected value. And now this one, each test run has a different number of numbers, so you can, or not different number of numbers, but different numbers. But what did I not do? Fourth, how did I get? Oh, it's sub XFF. I was writing a negative in there. There we go. Super fast. 7 cycles, 6 size, 2 activity, and doesn't matter what the numbers are, we'll always do the same number of steps. So we have 2 more tutorials here. So this one's all about communication and replication. Well, maybe not replication. Well, once you get an exit in here, it can't get out. And we need to put a copy of this secret file over here. I'm going to talk a little bit about replication here because it's very important in the game. So we're going to link 800, and now we're going to replicate our EXA. And you do it kind of like that. So over here, helps if I can type. So what this will do is we'll make a copy of this EXA and start executing at this mark. Mark is a label, and you can have more code here. So we're gonna now the initial one is going to link to 800, and then make a new file with the make command. The secret guy is going to link into 799, and then grab 199. He's then going to copy from F to M, and that will broadcast it globally. And he'll do that twice, reading both values out of 199. And then he'll halt, just by running out of instructions. The original EXA will copy from M to X, storing it temporarily, because if you read the directions, we have to flip the order of these. So then I'll take the second one, copy from M, and write it directly to the file. And then finally write the initial one that we stored, and then halt. I need a halt here because if I didn't have it, it would then try to link to... I don't need the halt there. Because he will then just continue down and try to link to 7099, which doesn't exist in the outbox, and that will crash him. So let's watch this occur. Link to 800, replicate. You'll see the new one has a :0 on it. It gets its own, little area. Copy the same code. It'll have a copy of all the registers if they were set to different values, but it would not get a copy of a file if the EXA was holding one. They both jump off. He'll make a new file. He'll grab file 199. He will now copy this to the network. You can see he's saying echo over here. He will now pick it up. And then he wrote it into his X, like we said. He will now send his number. He'll now take that number and write it into his file. And then he'll take echo. This guy dies. This guy will now try to link to 799. Can't find, dies. And we did that in 11 cycles. Oh! I did not delete file 199, and therefore I left a trace. So let's do that. To delete a file, you type wipe. Again, all 4-letter. So you can see that is working. Apparently there's quicker ways to do that. Looks like by 2 instructions, but that's the smallest size and smallest activity. Most people have 4 activity because they create 2 X's from the start, so they both link 800. Although that would probably be a cycle right there that I could save, because the repl takes time. Alright, that's one more tutorial, and then we'll take a quick look at some of my solutions. So this is a good one. You need to grab this file, take the 9, and then make a new file with the numbers 98765432110. Now, you could do it like this. Copy F to X, wipe link 800, make, so this is all about loops. So we want to then mark loop, copy copy X to F, subtract, take X, subtract 1, put it in X, test X greater than 0. With test, you have either T jump for true jump or false jump. Want T jump to loop. Actually, for this we want -1. So this should work. Grab 200, copy the 9 into X, delete the file because we've asked to. Make a new file, copy the 9 in, subtract 1 to 8. Hey, we are true, this is 1. Do that again, and again, and again, and again. We wrote the 0. We're now no longer greater than -1. We got a 0. We're not jumping, so we're out of instructions. That completed. This would work all 100 test runs. Let's do that. Great. Show test run data. Oh, we took 407, not 17. Steps on these, and I can tell you that all of these, the number in the file is 99. We're going to continue editing. You can come over here and make a completely new solution, or you can click and copy this solution. So this is a copy. You can actually rename it. And let's make this faster. Tests take 2 instructions, or at least if you want to do something with the test, which is really, you do want to do something with a test. Here's a trick. You just need this though. This will put you someplace else. T jump or F jump. You don't need the test if you can set T to 0 or 1 or other values. And if you do some playing around, you will find that 0 is false and anything else is true. So we can use that to our advantage. We're gonna, instead of copying F to X, we're gonna put it in T. We're gonna subtract 1 from T. And now look, that's faster. Let's 17. 17. Oh, it's 99. Okay. So 99 is there. So we copied 99. We subtract 1, it's 98. And look at that. Now we're looping with 3 instructions instead of 4. So that's going to be much faster. It's also going to be wrong. Because it stops at 1. It doesn't stop at 0. How do we fix that? It can be fixed. My way of fixing it probably can be fixed in a few different ways. instead of copying, I'm gonna add 1 to F before we put it in T. And then instead of just copying it to T to F, I'm going to subtract 1 again. So this will take the 99, give us 100 here. We do want to write 100 things. 99 through 0 is 100 things. And it's just what we want to write is 1 less than what's in here. So this should now actually work. And it's an instruction smaller in the loop. So that jumped us from here down to here. But you can get faster as well. Even faster. Let me so this is a loop, and like we do what we want to do and then we test. But we're testing once for every time through the loop, and we're subtracting once and we're writing once. What if we could check once, subtract once, and write a bunch? That would be a lot faster. So you see I changed this back to X. We're going to test if X is greater than 9. And false. If it's not, we want to go down here. And at that point, we're going to copy X to F. Now, this is slower for the small ones, but we're trying to make it faster for the big numbers. So there's a technique called unrolling the loop. So the loop is looping around in a big, tight roll. What if we make the roll bigger? So I'm going to highlight this, copy, and paste it 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're subtracting 10 at a time. These shouldn't be X's, these need to be X's, because we're going to be and these need to be consecutive numbers here. So 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's step through this for test run 17. So we got 100 here. Alright. Is it greater than 9? Yes. So we're going to write 10 times, but it's going to be this number minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, all the way up to 10. Now, we still have that same number in X, and now at this point we're going to subtract 10, not to T, to X. And I also should point out you can actually hold Alt and click a line and it will execute to there. And then it will go back and test again. So instead of having 3 instructions per write here, we have 10 writes with 14 instructions. So it's a lot quicker on the big ones. Okay. We're still bigger than 10. So, we're no longer bigger than 9. We come down here. So we need in this case, it happened that we were exactly already at 0, so we didn't need to go into there. So we'll do mark end, and that will be good. Let's. So we're already at 0. We're false. So just go to the end, and we're done. And that now took 151 cycles instead of the 407. For a number like 73, once we get here, we'll have 3 left to do. This shouldn't be copy X to F. How did that work? Copy X to T. There we go. Let's try 17 again, because I might have... Okay, that already is written 0. Yeah. So now this should work for all the test runs. And yeah, we're down here at 164. Yeah, so that's one way of optimizing. There's quite a few other tricks, but those are some of the main ones, using T-jump and F-jump directly, and unrolling loops. There's definitely like other tricks, especially with communicating between X's. I'm just gonna hit continue. So now you can actually see your different solutions and, you know, your graphs. There's a little exit out here. So now the game opens up and you're given your first real puzzle. Which is to order a pizza. Or hack yourself a pizza. So this is more like the rest of the puzzles, although this is kind of simplified. So this is, again, your computer. You're going to be dialing into a pizza place's computer. And they have a few files here. And it's also hooked up to their building maintenance. So we have lights here and a little power. This is a other register. You can set it just by using a copy command and putting pound. Actually, it's just power. Maybe it is pound power. Yeah. Just like you can, copy stuff to your registers. So this is lights. I believe this one is sign. Oven. Oh no, this is oven. What is 64? I don't know what this one is. You can actually, there's a command if you're in a machine to get its name and put it in a register. So you can actually get your exit in here and play with some of these. And there's actually an achievement in this puzzle for doing something other than what it asks you to do down here. But basically this one, it's that you want to take your order here, your address, medium cheese, extra cheese, and anchovies, and add it to the end of file 200. So that's relatively easy of sending an exit in here, grabbing file 200, seeking to the end, which is just, if you don't know, if you always want to get to the end, you can do 9999, which happens to be the biggest number you can hold in a register. Also, none of the files are ever, I don't even think they get 1,000 entries. But you seek, and then you just write this, and it's easiest to have one exa go in, one exa grab 300. Once you're ready, have this exa send it over the network to the one that's in here. That's the easiest. It's not the fastest. There are also other files, like you can actually click this and see what this says. The Pythagorean cheese squared plus pepperoni squared equals delicious squared. Somehow, you can actually get some information, like this word cheese somehow is faster to read it from this than to get it from another exa. I don't know how that works. I did look at some of the Reddit discussions, and they said that was the fastest way to do it. If you say so. Most people are just gonna, copy from here. It's not that hard. If you don't want spoilers, you can end the video here. Thanks for watching. I am probably going to do a quick review of maybe the first 5 puzzles of the solutions I came up with. Most of which I've done multiple solutions, and some of them I've come back after later in the game and done things better. So yeah, from here on out is going to be spoilers. So if you don't want any, and I would suggest, if you are interested in this game, play it, figure it out on your own, how the best ways to do things. And if you're into Zachtronics games or any type of programming, or just interested in programming, this is a game to pick up. I would expect it's easier than I know it's easier than Shenzhen IO, because for those, Shenzhen IO, you had I think you were limited to 15 statements in your little programs, your chips. I think TIS 100 was, I don't know, I haven't played it, but I believe this is easier than both of those. And it really is something close to assembly language programming, although you're not going to do networking in just one command in real assembly language, nor writing to files or reading from files, but this has simplified that. But it's still like you're dealing with a limited number of registers. And yeah. So spoilers. And here we go. Okay. Here I am, back in my main save. I did mean to mention there was, I believe there's 39 puzzles in the game. There's actually 3 types of puzzles. There's these normal puzzles like the Euclid Pizza. There's these type of puzzles where you compete against another exa trying to do the same thing or an opposite thing. Either you're trying to grab as many files and bring them back to your machine, or other things like that. And once you beat the programmed one, you can play against people on your friends list in Steam. And then there's a solitaire type game, and there's a arcade game that's kind of like I would call it kind of like Puzzle Bobble. And you get high scores. Let's do this real quick. Where are the keys? So you gotta take a tile. What is it? Here we go. And you gotta match 4 the same color, and they disappear. You can also swap positions. And this is a bonus shape if you match it with another bonus shape, you get a bonus, and I think all those of that color disappear. So, yeah, diversions, if you get tired of programming. So, yeah, I mean, we basically did those. I have turned on top percentile and 10th percentile. This is of the people playing the game. Now, there are probably the very best solutions are better than top percentile, but let's look at this one. This one I did as 11 before. Yes, I believe the trick here... Okay, I have 2 X's saving the REPL. Only one exit can go across a link at a time. That's why I have this no-op here, so the right one... If both tried to go, one would wait and basically waste a cycle. The copy and the read happens on alternate cycles. That's why I have this guy copying first to the network. So by the time this guy is ready to read it, it's already there. And other than that, it's basically the same, and they both run out of instructions at the same time. Yeah, so that's that puzzle. This looks faster than I think we were over here. Let's make sure this is my super fast one. You see, I've done this one a lot. Super fast one looks to be this one. I really tried to optimize, and while this has higher activity, the pure cycles, which is kind of what I tend to... I didn't want a new solution. Double click to open it. Oh, yeah. So just to save, so that this guy can... The writer can do a few things beforehand, I copy the number over the network just so this guy doesn't have to pick up the file. The guy doing the writing doesn't have to pick up, read, and put down. He can just read once. Saves 2 instructions. Interesting thing is, like, hey, this has more code, so he gets a taller little exit. There's a few different, not that many, but... oh. Later in the game, you saw how I wrote out the 10 subtractions. Well, you get a shortcut for that. So this is like, repeat until this end 19 times. Oh, and have this thing start at 1, but each time go up by 1. So when you hit go, it comes out to be this. I use almost the full size. I unroll a loop of 19, and then a 5, and then of 1. And for whatever reason, those numbers... Like, I could make this 4 and make this one a 20, but I think this just worked out the best. I mean, we'll see it in 17 the best. So, you can see we... This is basically what I did, just unrolled more. And that's how we get down to 143. There we go. Oh, let's... you can't do it with activity 1. And my smallest size is a 10. You're probably the exact same program. I just tried to do something different and didn't. Yeah, so this is also, yeah, the add-I. This is, I sort of did this as well. Euclid's Pizza. Let's do just a few of these up to highway sign, because that's Euclid's Pizza. 13 cycles. That is quick. like I said, yeah, I briefly explained this one. So this guy is gonna grab the file, copy the 5 things out. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. This guy's gonna grab the file, go to the end, write the 5 things out. I mean, the bad ways. Bad. We're gonna read out of the file, see if we're at the end of the file. If not, loop. And, you know, we're gonna loop here. I mean, it's not a bad way. It works. Yeah, we're gonna loop until we can't. No, he sends a 0 at the end, and we're gonna loop until we get a 0. You know, if it wasn't a 0, we're gonna write it to the file. It works. Oh, I actually even moved back instead of just dying there. I probably wasn't sure of what leave no trace was at that point. It works. Here we're gonna hack our hand. Arm. Hand is later. But it's basically, hey, we got nerves. And this one, you don't have to leave no trace. In fact, you need to write it so it runs forever. Because your nerve is now not working. It's been replaced by some circuits, so you gotta write the code for the circuits. This is probably my fastest. Oh, this is definitely my fastest. Let's look at typical. 2 of them. We get them in spots. Oh, and besides sending the signals, we got to make sure, hey, if it's too low or too high, clamp it to the lowest or highest. So we read it, hey, is it too low? Okay, yeah, write out 120 if it, negative 120 if it's below negative 120. Is it too high? All right, write out 50 if it's above 50. Otherwise, just write out the number. Where this guy just, hey, just reads and writes it out. So as we read each one, then the next one appears while we're still sending over to this guy to write out. That's why there's a little bit of a delay, but hey, it works. How to do it really fast. This is total spoilers town. Actually, let's go back. Someone did it maybe slightly. Yeah, someone definitely did it faster. This is pretty close, though. I mean, they probably are under 50 if that's that. But hey, 82 I'm happy with. So how do we do it faster? Well, hey, although that comparison stuff takes time, we're gonna do it for me where we're writing it. But we're going to actually have 3 X's. So this guy writes out the data, you know, reads a value, writes it out, reads a value, writes it out, reads a value, writes it out. And the first X is going to get the first value, and the second X is going to get the second value, and the third X is going to get the third value. And just because they're all offset in time a little bit, they're going to wind up writing it out just a little offset in the correct order. But because we have 3 guys basically working on it at the same time, it's happening 3 times faster than normal. So you see, the middle one is, you know, sending out, and then a little bit of a break while he waits for the other guys to catch up. But you have to make sure that all of them take the same length. So I got some no operations here. It just takes up an instruction spot but doesn't actually do anything. And that's for, hey, oh, like it is less than 120. All right, so wait a little bit. All right, now we'll write 120 just because they all need to take, it needs to take the same amount of time as if we, okay, is it less than negative 120? No. Is it greater than this? No. Okay, now write it to the, you know. So anyway, yeah, that one takes 82 cycles. Now, it does seem like there's a slightly even faster way. but that's what I got. Snacksnet. This is a local convenience store, and we want to have them make peanut-free peanut blast bars. Wow. I got top percentile here. What was it? Oh, did I, 37. Someone got 37. No idea how. So this is relatively simple, as we take the word peanuts from our startup and we find file 237, which is their mixing recipe, and we remove the word peanuts. This is probably my fastest. My fastest isn't too much faster. There's oh, look, we found it already. Ready, we removed it. Removing it with the void instruction. Oh, yeah, the speed up here is because I don't have the main guy read it. I saved 2 instructions. He gets where he's going and then copies it off the network. I think that is actually all of it. I got Zero's copies, where we Gas, our friend who gave us the magazine, owes the copy shop some money, and we're gonna take care of that for him. This one's a bit more complex in that file 200 has IDs and what they owe. This happens to be Gas ID here. He owes $427.20. So we need to zero that out. Not delete it, but zero it out, and then add a payment received record here, which contains the date, his ID, and the $427.20. But we also need a date, which we can get over here. So I have 3 X's. One grabs the date, and then comes back and gets ready to modify the payments file, while the other one is finding the entry in the amount owed file. And I'm doing this actually backwards because I found out for most of them, for the ones that take the longest, it's faster to go backwards by an instruction or 2. This one, he happens to be very close near the top, but apparently most of them he's near the bottom. Find out, broadcast it over. He's done writing. We now just wipe those. We're done. And that's how that goes. That was 55. There's 60, 70. Yeah, I think like one of these is going forward, and I changed it to backward, and we got it down to 55. Initial one was 101. There's also an Easter egg in here, but I'll let you find it. Not really an Easter egg, but an extra achievement. Highway sign. This is the last one I'll do. Like, this is just the first page. Like I said, there's like 39 or 40 of them. Yeah. Here you have to write messages to a highway sign. They explain how in the Trash World News magazine. It's not as simple as just writing that. Like, they show you there's a font, but this thing wants first a row, then a is it row 1, row 2, row 3, then the column number 1 to 9, and then the letter number, and there's a font, 0 is space, and then it's basically alphabetical, and there's a few symbols, hence the 39s. Let's go to my first. That's better than my. Fun was fun. My first one. Hey, this has a few extra things. Inverse, clear screen. So we're gonna first write to clear screen, which clears it. Then we're gonna. I use div and mod. So basically, x is gonna count from 0 to 27. And I divide by 9, and that will give me row 0, row 1, or row 2. As it goes from 0 to 9, 0 to 8 will give us 9, 9 to 17 will give us 1, 18 to 26 will give us 2. And then we do mod. Mod, if you're not aware, is basically it is the remainder after division. So we're gonna then take x again and divide it by 9, but keep the remainder this time, and that will give us the column. So basically, as I count up x, it's going to go across, and then across, and then across, just with the div and mod here, and then we're going to copy the data in. So we're basically writing every single piece of data and then we add one, and we test, hey, are we past the end? And I mean that's it. And all you have to do is think about it. It works, but it's slow. That works. What is this one? I also play with inverse here. It's not necessary. Oh, this one, I think I try to... If it's greater than 0, so I'm trying to skip the zeros to see if that's faster. But it requires, hey, reading it. Oh, it's not 0, go back so we can read it again. Probably could have somehow put data in another register. So yeah, you can see these we're skipping. We don't need to do the div or mod, but it turns out for most of these, it's not faster. In fact, it's nearly twice the size. Here's a smaller one, 98. Oh, and this is way before I knew about the repeat. I manually did it, and so hey, we're just gonna write stuff. No div, no mod. Basically, not even a counter. We keep a counter for the row, and that's it. And yeah, so that comes out fast. This is basically brute forcing it. That was 98. I do have apparently one quicker one. I guess I brute force it better. What is this? Yeah, okay. I guess I just brute force it better. I don't write to clear. I just overwrite stuff as I go. There's one where I have some fun. Yeah! There we go. I do that 100 times, and yeah, so that's where I'm gonna leave it off. There's lots more interesting puzzles with manually dialing different. This is supposed to represent a modem to dial different machines to then find stuff in certain files, and I should also point out one other thing. uh, you get a Game Boy-esque that's capable of red-blue 3D, and you can actually program your own game, and you can read the buttons and play with sound hardware, and each EXA now has its own little sprite that it controls, and you can have, I don't know, a lot of X's, it's close to 50 in here. And yeah, there's actually been a few interesting games I've seen. I want to write a little shooter because actually that seems easiest. There is a way to do collision detection. That's C is for collision, G is for graphics, and then you still have your own. So that you can basically either manually draw or actually programmatically draw stuff. You can position on screen by there's a GX and GY. You can test for collision between two sprites and then handle it. There is no size limitations here as far as I know. You got 3 buttons and start as well that you all get as bits off of, I think that's pad B is the buttons, and then enable 3D. Yeah, besides each of these graphics between the X and Y, there's also a Z, which goes from positive 9 to negative 9, where positive 9 is supposed to be in front of the screen and negative 9 is supposed to be behind the screen. You should be able to use any standard red-blue 3D glasses and actually see this. Yeah, but it's optional. You don't need to do it. I do want to make something here. I just wanted to solve the game first. And yeah, that's my look at EXAPUNKS. Available in Steam. I believe it's $20. Still in early access, but it's just they're putting a fine shine of polish on it. I think they fixed a few graphics issues on certain Macs or certain things like that. I know they adjusted the size limits of certain puzzles and some things like that. Yeah, it's very, very finished at this point. They may add a few more puzzles as they come out of early access. But yeah, that's my look at EXAPUNKS. I recommend it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Some other time, hopefully with some more games in not too far future. See you then.